Hey guys, this is Kerbuncle here. Just wanted to bring you my thoughts on the newest 1.4.1 updates as far as the balance changes go. This is going to be pretty loosey-goosey. I'm just going to go through the list, pick out which ones I think are important to consider if you're doing hardcore runs. I stream on Twitch sometimes. I stream a lot of Terraria. The Terraria I usually stream are hardcore runs of like master mode, for the worthy mode, stuff like that. So I have some like insight, I guess, at least as far as the way I play the game. There's lots of ways you can progress through the game, but as far as how I play it, these are my takeaways from these balance changes. So let's just look at it. Just dive right in. Let's just dive right in right here. The first one I want to point out here is the Terrablade. Terrablade got really bad. It was really weak compared to a lot of weapons that you could get at that stage of the game. The buff is appropriate. I'm not sure how good it will be compared to some of the other weapons you get, like post Plantera, because they also moved it past Plantera. You can't get the broken hero swords before Plantera anymore. So I'm not sure. It's probably still going to be fine, but not like anything you need to make, to progress. I'm just gonna there's a lot. This one got buffed twice. They ask how you doing Muramasa because it got buffed again. It's pretty good if you can get one. Pre-hard mode is pretty good. I won't say it's necessary, but it's a good buff. Not a lot of melee weapon changes that I really care about. Melee weapons are sort of just whatever. You don't need them to progress through the game necessarily. So, ranged weapons are going to be a bit different. Quad barrel shotgun is interesting to me that it got nerfed. I don't even think it was really that good, but maybe I just never used it enough. But apparently it was too good, so they took it down a notch. Tsunami got nerfed. So the way that I run through the game is I try to kill Fishron as early as possible, basically after the Wall of Flesh. The reason for this is because he's not that hard to fight if you know how to kill him. And he drops crazy good material, like weapons. Crazy good gear. Tsunami is one of those weapons, and it got nerfed more than 10% damage reduction. For range weapons, you have to consider the fact that the ammo increases the damage. So whatever ammo you're using is added to this number. So it isn't quite a 10% drop, but it's sort of significant. I still think this weapon's going to be really strong, especially if you can get it pretty early. But just something to think about. Chlorophyte bullets is probably the most important bullet for the late game. Its damage was reduced from 10 to 9. That's not anything. Like I said earlier, you have to consider the damage of the weapon itself added onto this number. So even though this is a 10% drop, it's basically nothing. It is a nerf, which is sad, but it should be fine. I don't imagine it changing any strategies. Now this one actually hurts. Jester arrows now apply a 10% damage penalty for every hit that goes through. So I use Jester arrows for pretty much the entire early game. I use Jester arrows to fight through bosses like the Brain. I use Jester arrows to fight through bosses like the Eater of Worlds and Wall of Flesh. I will have to test this to see how viable it is against those enemies now, considering that there are a lot of segments in particularly the Brain and the Eater. That nerf could be pretty significant. Unholy arrows gets kind of the same treatment. I never use those as much, but maybe they would be a little bit better since they only drop 5% compared to the 10. We'll have to see. This one does scare me a little bit. The early game is pretty tough. You don't have a ton of options, and this is one of the best options, I think, for a lot of the bosses. Okay, moving on. Magic weapons. So the only magic weapon, there's lots of great buffs. These buffs are great, and I'll be excited to see if I can try any of these. I'm more concerned about things like this. Razorblade Typhoon got reworked. So the way that it works now, it used to shoot 2 projectiles for 1 shot. Now it shoots 1 projectile, but that projectile does 50% more damage. So they're giving reasoning here where the double projectile version, the previous version, used to be really good against groups, which was true. It was amazing for that, but not as good against a single target. They want to make it better for single target, but worse for groups, so that it's more balanced, like across the board. I think this is a big hit to the weapon. I don't even think it was that bad against single targets. Now, it should do more damage against single targets, so maybe that's okay. But the reason you use this weapon was for the groups. It was incredible crowd control, and I still think it'll be a really valuable weapon. I just wonder... I don't know. Like, the battle I'm thinking about with this weapon is the Eternia Crystal Tower Defense battle. You could clear this... Like, you could clear that with this weapon alone. Like, you wouldn't even have to put sentries down. So maybe, like, you can clear it with this weapon and sentries. It's probably still okay. I don't know. It's tough to gauge. I personally don't know how much I care about it being good against single targets because there's other weapons for that. The fact that it's weaker against groups makes me pretty sad. What else? Betsy's Wrath got a huge buff. That doesn't really change my run, but that is significant. This is a really strong magic weapon just because of its debuff effect, which is like 40 damage down, 40 defense down. It's really strong. These other weapons I didn't use too much, like Magic Missile got nerfed, sort of whatever. Flame Lash got nerfed. I liked those weapons, but they didn't change the run at all. Whips all got buffed, which is cool. Whips are a little bit better. They were a bit clunky before. Sanguine Staff got nerfed, which I think is appropriate, but it barely got nerfed. It just made it a little bit slower. That staff was really strong if you could get it. The thing that I like, it says later, the thing that I like is that now it drops 100% from the Dread Nautilus on Expert and Hard mode, Expert and Master mode. So that'll be cool. That might actually be something I try to get because it's a really strong summon weapon. It's really defensive. It's really good at keeping you alive. Ooh, what else? What else are we looking at here? Summon weapons are just sort of whatever for me. They're nice to have, but not essential. I think this is cool. Like, I never wear this, and I probably still won't, but now instead of getting more defense for the armor bonus, you get Thorns damage, which is very flavorful. I like that. I think that's a good change. Necro Armor got nerfed. There was a period of time where I was using Necro Armor for the Wall of Flesh fight over Molten Armor. Crit chance reduced by 5%. Increasing the defense of each. So it's still good. 3 extra defense for a 5% crit reduction. That's fine. You can still use it. It says nerf. I actually don't even think that's that bad. Trading defense for damage is sometimes okay. What else do we got here? Lots of reworks. Okay, so the Spectre Armor rework. This is awesome. Like, I almost think that this is a bit too good for Spectre armor wearing the mask. So the critical hit chance goes from 5 to 10, which is great. Increase the limit on how much burst damage can be dealt. So I don't necessarily understand what this means. I assume this has something to do with the white balls that shoot out. Likewise, the recovery rate that determines how many new projectiles can be generated over time has increased from 250 to 400. So what I'm gathering from all this is that we're doing something like 50% more burst damage here. The limit on how many projectiles can be created goes up. So I would use the Spectre armor a lot in conjunction with the Razorblade Typhoon. And they nerfed the Razorblade Typhoon, but they buffed the Spectre armor. So it's almost like nothing changed in a way. So maybe it's fine. If you're using Razorblade Typhoon and you're using this, the Spectre armor, I think you're probably still going to be okay. Against groups. This'll help clean up groups better because you just get a bunch more extra damage or crit chance and the bonus projectile dealies. Hood didn't really change. It says it did. It would be cool if it didn't. I would like this number to go down. That armor used to be so good. A lot of buffs to the non-Valhalla Eternia armors, which I think is good because they were definitely left in the dust compared to this. In fact, if I remember right, let me go back. So Explosive Trap got buffed, and I actually love Explosive Trap. I think the field one and the fireball one need to get buffed too, because the the ballista one is crazy. But this makes it, I think, makes it a contender. Now, granted, it doesn't change much for the run, but maybe you can choose between the two if you wanted to, if you liked one over the other. Okay, so Band of Regen buff from 0.5 HP to 1 HP per second, I think is great. Regeneration is... it needs to be better, and making this better makes the early game a little bit easier. Especially in Master Mode, the early game is very difficult. Okay, so this Bone Glove rework is awesome. I love it. So Bone Glove used to be a ranged weapon that you equip, and then you throw bones. Bones were your ammo. Now, instead of that, it's an accessory that you equip, and whenever you attack, you throw a bone. It doesn't matter what you're attacking with. You could be attacking with a melee weapon. You could be attacking with a ranged weapon. You create a bone projectile when you swing your weapon or shoot your weapon or whatever. And it does 25 damage, but it ignores 25 defense. Depending on how fast this shoots, it doesn't say. If it's every time you take a swing, that's a big DPS boost, like for the early game. 25 damage per, like 25 extra damage per attack is really significant. Like, I'll have to see how this looks because, and I guess I assume that they followed the same arc they did before, so they didn't go very far, but still, like, especially if they also have the same bouncing effect they had before, you're cleaning up crowds way easier with this. Like, holy crap, like, this it's really strong. Like, this is an accessory that I think it makes killing Skeletron, you know, despite the fact that you get into the dungeon, it makes killing him a lot better. Okay, so Brain of Confusion is really strong. They nerfed it. The Mind Trick debuff only has a 10% chance instead of a 20% chance, and they reduced the duration of Mind Trick by 1 second. The reason they did this was because they buffed it before by making it so that you have a 1 in 6 chance of not taking damage when you get hit. I think this change is fine. I don't think it actually makes it worse. in my opinion, you don't wear it for this effect. You wear it for the 1 in 6 chance to dodge. But it is a little worse. Just a little worse. Not much though. Where'd my music go? Okay, sorry. So a lot of these are really cool. Okay, so this is a big one. This is a big one for me. Lucky Horseshoe is no longer in sky chests. Instead, it's in gold chests underground. Incredible. I love it. Thank you. That's great. In its place, fledgling wings, which is the wings that you start with if you start a journey mode character, have been added to sky chests and sky crates. Amazing. In a regular run, you can now have pre-hard mode wings. I love it. I love it. Thank you. It's great. Wings are such a big part of the game that it just feels appropriate to me. They're a bit innocuous, but they scale up, so they're great. I love the wings. Let's see. Fire Gauntlet got buffed because somebody pointed out that the fire debuff was not worth the 2% damage reduction, so now it's back to 12%. Fire Gauntlet's now strictly better than the Titan Glove, which is great. This one very much appeals to me. Lava Charm got doubled its spawn rate. 1 in 20 chance. So like it's still really rare. But I played something like 80, probably like 90 to 100 runs before I even saw one. So yeah, they're rare, but now maybe it'll only take me 50 runs to find my next one. We'll see. This is interesting. Wait, did this get... Oh, gains the new benefit of the Magma Stone? Interesting. Okay, so then the Fire Gauntlet's even better because the Magma Stone doesn't give you on fire proper. It gives you super on fire. Now it's 15 DPS. That's pretty good. I like it. Yeah, here's another big one. Pygmy Necklace is now sold by the Witch Doctor pre-hard mode. So before, the only accessory, like, this was, I think, still the fastest accessory you could get that would give you bonus. Let's see, is Pygmy Necklace... Pygmy Necklace is bonus summon, right? One additional minion slot. Yeah. So it took a really long time before you were able to get this effect for free. I think this is actually worth it. Pre-hard mode. This is it's great to have 2 if you're not wearing summoner armor. 2 helps a lot more than 1. So I think I would actually wear this over a lot of the early game stuff. This one's pretty cool. The base damage of the stars generated by these accessories, specifically Star Cloak, Bee Cloak, basically when you get hit, the stars fall, that effect. It increased from 30 to 75. In addition, these stars ignore up to 25 defense, which is incredible. And the effect is multiplied by 2 in expert mode and 3 in master mode, which I don't know if it was that way before, but now that it is, 3 times 75 is a lot. Before, I wouldn't even create the Star Veil, because, which is the cross plus the Star Cloak, because I wanted to reforge the cross to be something like warding or menacing, and it would be more expensive if I merged it, and the effect after merging I didn't even care about, so I just had the cross. Now I'm getting this, because this does a lot of damage. 225 damage per star. And it ignores 25 defense. Like, phew, that's a lot. It's pretty good. You have to get hurt. If you get hurt in master mode, you're probably dying, but at least it could keep you alive. There's a chance that whatever is attacking you, it could be the difference between being alive and not being alive. You know, Could mean saving your run. What else do we got? Okay, this is a big one. So this is probably the biggest nerf. And they kind of talk about it a little bit. The black spot is the best mount for fighting bosses. But ironically, they designed it with the intention of it being bad for bosses. Because it turns slow. Now, I use the black spot to fight a lot of the late game bosses, particularly Empress of Light, Enraged, and Moonlord. Black spot makes those fights a lot easier. Now, the strategy doesn't really change. You just can't really use black spot. I haven't seen how fast it actually goes. From the way they're describing it, it seems like that wouldn't be viable anymore. There are a few mounts that you can still use to do what black spot does. You can use the Fishron mount that he drops. You can use the UFO, which is kind of how I did it before black spot. And you can use the Witch's Broom, which actually got buffed. So the Witch's Broom is faster than the UFO now. Before they were the same. Getting the Witch's Broom in Master Mode is extremely difficult. So I don't know if I'm going to go for that. Probably the one I'm going to use instead of black spot is the Fishron one. You just need water to make it really effective. That's kind of the only thing. But it makes sense. You can fight pirates right after Wall of Flesh, and it being the best mount in the game. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. So I think this nerf is fine, but it is a bit sad because I really liked the black spot. I thought it was really cool. What else? This is cool. It's pretty minor, but pickaxes are easier to craft. Gold and platinum armor is easier to craft. I don't think I make these armors very much. I mean, this is fine too. But that's good. That's great. I like it. I also like this a lot. Adamantite and titanium bars reduced from 5 to 4 ore. Good. I like that a lot. I'm just now seeing this. I thought this was the same thing. Jester arrows are now harder to make, which again is a big deal because I use Jester arrows a lot. All right. Okay, so some of the debuffs. This one that stands out right immediately is the Ichor debuff. Ichor debuff was crazy against a lot of boss fights. It's a little less crazy. It's still pretty good. You lose 5 DPS. Well, hold on. Depending on your weapon, it can be more than that. It can be pretty significant. It's still probably pretty good against a lot of fights like Fishron. But maybe it doesn't matter as much. Venom is actually pretty interesting to me. Venom got a big buff. Venom went from 6 DPS to 15 DPS and in 1.4, and now it's going to 30 DPS. So it's doubled in damage. And there's this other note that they're saying that there's a lot of enemies that were immune to it that aren't anymore. That's great. 30 DPS is not a lot for, you know, mid and late game when you would get it. But it makes like some weapons like the spider staff summon weapon pretty good. 30 DPS against random mobs when you're just exploring is pretty significant, and the spiders give the venom debuff pretty much automatically. So that'll make the spider staff a lot better, which I already really like for the mid game. Yeah, I mean there's some other stuff, but it's just sort of whatever. Oh, they nerfed a lot of the stuff that's in the desert, which I think is great because like rolling cactus damage is 1/3 of what it would normally do. Wonderful. I like it. Nobody likes the cactuses, man. They're a menace. A Boulder 2.0. This is pretty big for me because I've died to this thing lots of times. Angry Dandelion got nerfed. Its damage projectile scaled twice. So, in other words, it should do about half the damage it was doing. Before, it would one-shot you, even with full health. Now it won't do that. Same thing with this guy. This dude was really good at one-shotting you. This is a hard mode guy only, but easier to avoid than this, since in early game you don't have a lot of mobility, but yeah. Anyway. This is really scary. Okay. So, the hard mode spiders are really scary because they can web you and then you can't do anything. So you can't like teleport out, you can't leave, you can't attack, you can't jump away. They just slowly approach you. Surviving in hardcore like master mode is all about just avoiding the enemy. And now in the jungle, you can have jungle creepers show up. They're insanely strong. Okay, they were basically non-issues before. Now they're much more threatening. They move faster. They can give you venom debuff. And they spit web and trap you, so you can't run away. If you get hit with this web, GG. The jungle's hard enough. I don't know why they felt like they needed to do this. This is scary. I don't know. This is in green like it's a good thing. Come on. It's bad. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how if that changes anything. I'm expecting to die to that at least once, maybe many times. This is good. The jungle and the corruption and crimson now can't like be on top of the jungle during world generation, which is really annoying. So that's really good. They increase the chances of finding the enchanted sword, which is pretty nice if you want to make the zenith. What else? What else? You can use pylons during the celestial invasion, which I think is pretty good. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was a bit curious why they prevented you from doing it. But now it's good. That's about it. So yeah, those are my thoughts. There's a lot of changes here. I obviously didn't go over all of them, but you know, the game. I think a lot of these changes make sense. In fact, I don't think there are any that don't make sense. There's only a few worrisome ones that I pointed out, particularly the nerf to the Jester arrows and the buff to the jungle creeper. But other than that, I think these are great. I'm excited to play with these new stats. Yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any, if I missed something here that's a big deal, let me know. I didn't go over very many of the buffs because what I do is I'm just imagining what I do already, and I just see how what I do already changed. And a lot of what I do already was really strong, so it got nerfed. So I really only care about the nerfs. But if there's some buff that I'm missing that's crazy, like, let me know. I'd love to know that stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.